Together we have built a reputation, a modest living, and a way of life that is rewarding to me. Now it is yours. Nurture it. Devote your energies to expansion, diversification, and integrity.
In 1968, at the age of 75, Henry Hall Sr. retired from the company he had built. His charge to the next generation: expand, diversify, and do it with integrity. Boy, did they.
Henry Hall Sr. began making farm loans in Iowa and Nebraska in the 1920s. When the Great Depression hit, Henry acted more as a property manager than a lender. Ultimately, he became the head of the Ag Loan Department for Connecticut Mutual Life Insurance Company in Hartford, Connecticut.
When World War II broke out, Henry joined the service. After the war, there was no work for Henry in Hartford, but Connecticut Mutual did have an opening for an agricultural loan correspondent out west. It was 1946. Henry and his wife Nellie packed up their family and moved to Denver, where, with their oldest son Warren, they established what would become Hall & Hall Mortgage Corporation.
Henry Hall Sr. was a gentleman. He was a grand old man. He had a lot of character. Most respects, my dad followed in my grandfather's footsteps. My father was my mentor, was my best friend.
In the early years, Warren traveled each week from Denver to Wyoming and Montana to call on clients.
I'd see my dad on Sunday night. I wouldn't see him again until the next Saturday. He'd come home after we were in bed on Friday night.
Henry Jr. joined the family business in 1951, and Warren moved his family to Montana to open a Hall & Hall office in Billings. Then, in 1959, the Halls decided to split their company into two separate entities. Hall & Hall Inc. in Billings, Montana would be owned by Warren, and Hall & Hall Mortgage in Denver would be owned by Henry Sr., Henry Jr., and for a time, Henry's third son, Doug Hall.
Henry Jr., mostly called Hank, was a great father. He raised 5 kids with my mother, Nancy, of which I'm the oldest. Henry spent his career with Hall & Hall, was a very good businessman, principled, and dedicated to the company.
While the Denver Hall & Hall continued to specialize in mortgage lending and appraisals, the Montana Hall & Hall moved aggressively into ranch real estate. Warren's son Doug and Jim Taylor joined the Montana office in the 1970s. With Warren's sudden death in 1981, Doug took the reins, relying closely on Jim Taylor. At Doug's invitation, Jim began buying into the company.
When I came to Hall & Hall in 1987, I noticed that Jim and Doug brought very different skill sets to the company. Jim was out on the bow of the ship with the field glasses, looking out into the future, seeing where we were going to go, and Doug was back down in the engine room checking all the gauges to make sure everything was running properly. That's a great combination that helped this business grow in the future.
I had this concept that ranches needed to be marketed on a national and international basis, and that there were hopefully investors that would look at ranch land as a standalone investment.
In the early days, ranch prices were typically based on carrying capacity or a cow unit cost. In 1968, Malcolm Forbes bought a Montana ranch for about $600,000 at the unheard of price of $1,000 a cow unit. 10 years later, that same ranch sold for about $7 million, marking a sea change in the way real estate was priced and valued by investors.
In 1987, Ted Turner came into the market, and he had the dream of putting together huge tracts of land and get rid of the cows and run indigenous wildlife there. And he had bought a couple of small ranches from us. And then he said, I really want to notch this up.
Turner's purchase of the Flying D Ranch for $20 million changed everything. Land for land's sake became a hot investment commodity. Over the next 2 decades, as prices skyrocketed, Hall & Hall brokered the deals that led the way. $50 million, $70 million, $100 million and more. Then in early 2016, the legendary 535,000-acre W.T. Wagoner Ranch sold in Texas. It had been priced at $725 million. Hall & Hall represented the buyer.
I think the Wagner Ranch transaction is a perfect example of how relationship building works at Hall & Hall. The client that bought that, I'd worked with him for 23 years. We'd done a number of transactions together through those 23 years.
The Wagner Ranch sale also highlighted the very synergies and spectacular growth that Mike, Henry Hall Jr., Doug Hall, and Jim Taylor had hoped to achieve when on January 1st of 2000, they merged the Montana and Denver Hall & Hall companies. The new Hall & Hall would become one of the nation's largest regional real estate brokerages, specializing in rural properties, and virtually the only one that also provided lending, appraisal, and property management all under one roof.
From the very early days, we recognized that property management would be an important service to our clients.
In the 80s, there were a lot of tough times for the farmers and ranchers. Everything was going wrong at the same time, and you could only carry along so long, and you had to do something, and you started legal proceedings and foreclosed on those people. When you own a farm or a ranch, it isn't something you just park and put on a bookshelf. You know, it's a breathing, eating entity, and it needs to be managed and cared for. So it was natural that we, as the people that did their underwriting and service those loans, would manage them, and that's how we got into the management business, kind of like how my grandfather got into the business.
With auction services in 2010, Hall & Hall added yet another marketing tool to its arsenal. The 2000 merger also served as a stepping stone for even greater expansion into Kansas, Texas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and beyond to the southeastern United States and abroad.
I've always believed in what I call a cowboy ethic. If you grew up around cowboys like I did, the one thing you learn about a cowboy is he's always going to do more than his share so that he's never beholden to anybody else.
That ethic is the essence of Hall & Hall's partnership structure, which is built on teamwork and shared commissions.
Our partnership is unique in that we all work together and share alike. That doesn't happen in any other businesses. That's both a benefit to us because we're all working for the common good, and it's also a benefit to our clients because you get the collective experience of 470 years in this business.
We're first and foremost an employee-owned company here at Hall & Hall, and that means that the employees, all of us, are responsible for the success and the future of our business.
We have some of the most capable professionals that help us every single day, whether it be through marketing, making brochures, helping with the website, doing due diligence, getting information related to listings. They are truly the backbone of our company. And without them, we wouldn't be nearly as successful as we are.
We have a very strong culture of being honest. We become counselors and advisors to our clients. It's about relationships. It's not about selling real estate.
We work on really establishing strong relationships with our clients and customers. And how you do that is through having the highest level of integrity, thinking about the long term, being credible, being honest, straightforward.
If your motivation in getting in business is to make money, or you look at every client and every human being as a meal ticket, that's a mistake.
Henry Sr. and his sons were able to build long-term relationships by being honest, doing more than they were expected to, giving good advice, and not just service. These values have formed the basis of Hall & Hall.
We've sort of developed an expertise in what I call investment quality rural real estate, which is a bit of a mouthful.
Investment quality rule what?
Investment quality rural real estate.
Investment quality real estate. Investment quality rural real estate bill.
Investment quality rural real estate.
Investment quality rural real estate.
Rural real estate. It's hard to say.
Rural real estate.
Investment quality rural real estate.
Very well.
I don't know who thought of that.
Investment quality rural real estate.
Investment quality rural real estate. Yeah, I gotta try again. Stop.
Investment quality rural real estate. Are a little heavy on the R's.
Investment quality rural real estate.
Investment quality rural real estate.
Now say it as fast as you can.
Investment quality rural real estate.
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 Awesome.
This is my favorite part. Investment quality rural estate. Rest of rural estate. My name is Jim Taylor and I love investment quality rural estate. I love it.
Investment quality rural real estate. Does that do anything for you? Say it as fast as you can.
Investment quality rural real estate. It's so easy. It just tumbles off your tongue. It's magic. It's absolutely magic.